This is the subsequent part of this first chapter, which is key concept of the SOM, and in which the real problem in the gate examination uh, start from today onward, because till the date the two section I have covered, it is only the basic which is required to solve this upcoming problem. So, in the last lecture, we have seen the strain for the which is vary in the different direction. So, as we see on the PDF, that the strain which is varying in the x direction, y direction, and z direction. So, if we combine these two three type of strain, we will get the volumetric strain. That is nothing but the total strain, the total deformation of that entire body. And if you go in a particular direction, just like here it is shown that it move in the x direction. So in the x direction, which shows that in the x direction, the deformation which is taking place, it's a uh, positive, the increment which is taking place in the x direction. But due to that increment in the x direction, there is a decrease in the dimension in y direction and as well as in the z direction. So to compensate and to indicate that decrease, we have multiply with the Poisson's ratio. So if you I have assumed that you are understood the concept of how we have written this equation, first three equation, which is related to their particular direction for a same body, but in a different direction. Each time we are applying the force in a different section. Just the first equation is to is derived when the applied tensile force is applied in x direction. Now we change that x direction force into y direction. Then we take this second example, and after that the similar process we have done for the third section as well. So from this section, we have understood these three equations. Now these are the concept we have to use in the real life application. In the real life application, there are many type of cross section, like circular, rectangular, conical, and many more shape are there. So these are the application applicable shape of we have seen in the day to day life. So if the same kind of stress and strain which is performing on this kind of element, so what will it make effect on that part, and how this part behavior with respect to that particular direction and that particular stress strain. So we are going to see in the first section, which is a rectangular shape which hold the length, breadth, and thickness. So in this diagram, as you see on the PDF, in the x direction, it has some length. In the y direction, it has some thickness of that object, and in the z direction, the width of that cross section. So these are the three dimension. So whenever you apply the force in the x direction, it has some effect on the y and z direction as well. So the similar the exam the equation we have seen just before, the same equation we have to do, we have to deduce for this. And if you apply for the x direction, as I have taken that p forces apply on the hash plane, so it is nothing but it is acting toward the positive x direction. So what will happen? It will extend the length, and by by changing the length in the positive direction, it will reduce the thickness T and width B in the Y and Z direction respectively. So if you put this kind of deformation in the that strain formula, which is nothing but psi is equal, I called psi equal to psi x, the strain in x direction equal to strain in x direction plus strain in y direction plus strain in z direction. but the strain in x direction and strain in y direction, uh, which is which has a negative effect, which in that portion the chain the deformation is getting reduced, and in that process the compression force is taking place. So just assume that in the x direction we are applying the tensile forces, but due to the tensile forces the other two dimension is getting reduced. So when you apply the force in the compressive kind of forces, then only this dimension is getting reduced. So we assume that the y and z direction of stress is in the compression nature, so we have taken as a negative value. So same thing you have to derive for the y and z direction as well. And if you put this value in the volumetric equation, which is nothing but the combination of free strain in the three direction. So this is how this equation is look like: the strain in the x direction, which is shows the change in length divided by original length, plus in the y direction change in thickness with respect to the original thickness, and the z direction that shows the change in width divided by original width. If we assume that in this condition the forces which is applied and the stress which were developed in each direction is quite different from each other. So in that condition, we have derived this equation, but assume that in some condition, the stresses which were developed due to these applied forces will be equal in all direction. That is nothing but the stress in x direction equal to stress in y direction, also equal to stress in z direction. So if you put this stress equal value in the strain x direction, so that equation will be reduced in the form of stress divided by the Young modulus divide in multiplication of 1 minus twice mu. So if you put this formula in a volumetric efficiency, that is nothing but the strain in x, y, and z direction, it will remain same for the all direction. Due to the if it is it if we assume that the stress in all direction will be equal. So if you put this formula in volumetric strain, so that formula is multiplied by 3, because it's a combination of 3 strain, and if we add into it, it will become 3 times of that formula. So this is how this rectangular cross section varies with respect to different kind of stress and strain. So the same manner we use for the cylinder bar, but in the cylinder bar, only thing is changed in this cross section. We have length in the x direction, but y and z direction we both side have a diameter. So the only thing is we have to assume that it is nothing but uh, the 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 strain in y and z direction will be same in in any condition. If you apply different forces, we assume that x direction we apply forces, then the strain in y direction and z direction will be equal. And if you put in this formula in the volumetric equation, so it will be reduced in the form of strain in x direction plus strain in y or z direction 2 times. So if you in this condition also, if you take an assumption that the stress which is developed in the all direction is equal, so what will happen? That formula will be reduced in the form of stress divided by strain in bracket 1 minus twice mu. If the same formula you use in the volumetric strain, so the formula will be multiplied by 3 times. The same thing happened in the rectangle section. Same we have to do in the cylindrical bar as well. Now we move to the third cross section, which is nothing but the block, and it's a square cross section, or you can call as a cubical cross section. So in this cubical cross section, which contains the all side, here I have taken the side of that cube is A, and yeah, you are very well known that the all side of that cube will remain same, and if you apply the force in the x direction, it will change the dimension in all the directions. So here if you take an example that if you apply in the particular direction, x direction, the in that cross section, the length or the a size of that particular direction will get increased and other two side will reduce. So if you put the same equation, if you want to find out the strain in the x direction, it will become stress divided by strain in x direction minus twice of mu into stress in the y or z direction divided by e. So, and if you take out of this two values, so it will reduce in the form of the stress divided by modulus of elasticity in minus 1 minus twice of Poisson's of ratio. So same formula you have to put into the volumetric strain, and the equation will become three times of the formula. This is how you have find out the stress and strain for the block. Our third cross section. Now we move to the fourth cross section, which is nothing but the sphere. And we know that the sphere, which is if you apply the force in any direction, the diameter of that cross section is getting reduced in all the form. If it is tensile forces, then the cross section, the diameter of that section is getting increased, and if it is the compressible forces, the diameter of that sphere is getting reduced. So here we have assumed that the force is applied on that sphere is tensile forces. So if it is tensile forces, and the dimension will remain constant. That's why it will reduce in the simple form, which is nothing but stress divided by the modulus of elasticity 1 minus twice of mu. And if you put this formula in the volumetric strain, it will multiply by three times. So this is how we have covered the fourth cross section as well. And the basic funda is, if you understood the first cross section itself and the that above three equation, the strain equation in the different direction. So you can find out for any object, and only thing is you need to apply your logic, whether which dimension of your object is getting increased and uh, which dimension of that object is getting decreased. You have to apply only the negative sign for reducing that dimension. So here I have simplified that stress and strain in x device direction. So already we have discussed this, that strain in x direction, which shows that change in length, and y direction, which shows the change in different parameters of that. And here come with this formula. It's very important to find out, in which we have to find out the change in length of any particular object while applying the P pressure on it. And the P is nothing but the force whichever you apply on that particular perpendicular on that plane. So as we see in that the changing length in that portion, the first object is the cylindrical bar. What will happen if you apply the pressure on the cylindrical bar at the front face? So what will happen? It will increase the length, and you have to find out the amount of change in length of that object while applying the P forces. So uh, you know the formula for the modulus of elasticity, which is indicate the space divided by strain. If you move that strain in the side of other side, and if you divide it with the formula will become stress divided by modulus of the elasticity. And the stress, which is nothing but the force per unit, the perpendicular area, whichever it's which on that it is the pressure is going to apply. And uh, the length and the strain, you have to write in the form of change in length divided by original length. So if you multiply with this original length in the other side, the formula will become PL divided by A. So this formula is very much important, and on the basis of this formula you can write the formula for the different cross section. So this is how this formula is going to be converted. And if you write this formula for the circular cross section, which is getting reduced its diameter as we move along the length. So the second cross section, which shows the starting, it has a diameter d2, and when we move along the length, the diameter is the gradually getting reduced to the d1, and at d1 we applied the p forces. So in this condition, only thing is change. The E will remain same because material will be the same, and it does not vary with respect to your cross section. P will be remain same, and the length is also will be same as well, but only thing is change in area. So the cross section area of these uh, this bar is pi by 4 d1 and d2, and for the circular cross section throughout remains the diameter will same, which is nothing but pi by 4 d square. Only thing is to it has changed their area. And in some cases they used to ask the derivation on the of this cross section, in which if you want to find out the diameter from the d2 or d1 at x distance, at x length. So there you can find out with respect to, now this x distance I have taken from the d1 diameter toward the d1, and at that point the diameter of I have taken denoted as a dx. So that will be calculated equal to d1 plus d2 minus d1 divided by the length of the object multiplied by the x distance I have taken from the d1 position. So this is how you can find out the diameter of that varying cross section at any point in between that two diameter. So now we move to the rectangular object, and the rectangular object in which the cross section only it is also taper cross section as we seen for the circular cross section, but only thing is this object is a rectangular object. It has some width which is denoted by t, and the width at the no, higher section, that the bigger section is it denoted by b2, and the smaller section of width is denoted by b1, and the forces is applied on the both sides, that p at one side, and the p and both the faces which is perpendicular to the plane. And here also only thing is changed is your area, and the formula is will remain same, but only thing is the area will turn out to be b2 minus b1 divided by ln b2 divided by b1. So here you, if you want to remember this formula, you can remember that the logarithmic mean distribution in the heat exchanger, that formula will remain same. If the higher temperature minus divided by minus lower temperature divided by the log of higher temperature divided by lower temperature. So same formula is used to find out the cross section of this rectangular section, which is nothing but b2 divided by b2 minus b1 divided by ln b2 divided by b1. And this formula as well as used for the square cross section. In this cross section, the bigger section we have indicated as a, and the small cross section at the other end we have indicated in the b form, we denoted as a b. So in this condition, if you apply the forces at the both the end of this rod, so the change in dimension in that direction will be getting as PL divided by AE. And in this condition, the area will turn out to be A into B. So you have to remember that only thing is changed is here is the area of that cross section. Apart from that, nothing else. So this is how this cross section get deformed, and with respect to that formula, you can find out different deformation in that section. Now we move from this section to another section, which shows that the deformation due to self weight. And if you say that this is happening in the most of time, just because of if you hang some sort of body, so Due to that body, it has its own weight. It get deformed from the hub of the section. In some cases, if you try to pull up and push up, so in that condition, if you hold for some time, so what will happen? Your backside will get start paining, and just because of why? Because the your self weight try to pull you downward, and due to that, the small amount of fatigue taking place in that in your body, and it start paining. So similar thing happen in the material as well. When you hang any kind of rod or any kind of object, the half of its weight try to pull that remaining half of the section to the downward, and due to that half of the weight, the dimension of the half of the remaining cross section which is attached to the top will get changed. And same formula as we see in the previously, that the change in length, which is PL divided by AE. The same formula we have to use here. The only thing is it has a different format. So before that, you have to understand the basic concept for weight. Weight is nothing but the formula of weight, which is M and mg. So mg also can be the mass can be written in the form of rho, and rho. The mass is mass is nothing but volume, density into volume. So if you multiply that mass, and that equation will become rho g into volume, and rho g is nothing but the specific weight, and this specific weight you are getting familiar with this formula in the your fluid mechanics. There in that subject, the lot of it has a lot of use in that, so you will get very familiar with this. And this is called the specific weight of that body, which is vary with respect to each and every material, because it contains the raw values. So the density value varies, your weight is going to vary, and this formula is turn out to be rho into v. And volume is we are known that volume is nothing but area into multiplication of its length. But the length which is varying, the weight is applying on the half of the cross section is nothing but the half of your length of that object. So we have to change that length, complete L length as we have taken. So we have to multiply with L by 2. So only the weight is acting is the half of that body. So if you put that formula in this chain, that previous formula that we have seen, PL divided by A. So here P is nothing but the force, and here it is weight of that body. L remains same, and uh, E, that area will also be the same, and E will be the same. Only thing is change their length. So I have taken L divided by 2. But if you try, the most of time they used to give a specific weight. So in that condition, if you want to find out the change in length of that prismatic bar due to its self weight, so it will turn out to be, if you put that above formula in the previous the download the WL to A formula, so it will turn out to be rho into L square divided by twice T. If you say, uh, if you there there it is written L divided by 2. So uh, you will say that it will become rho L square 4 AE, but I have taken the L divided by 2. So you have to take that 2 the length as the full length. So then only this formula will turn out to with like this. So and the prismatic word, if you heard before, is nothing but the cross section which is constant throughout. If its diameter is 5 mm, it will remain constant for the entire length. That such kind of the object is called as the prismatic object. Now this is for the prismatic object, which show that the diameter of that object remains same. And so for that we have calculated the change in the deformation due to the self weight. Now we are calculating this deformation for the conical section. The top section of that cone is attached at the ceiling, and the bottom section is it's hang in the atmosphere. And it also has some of the weight which is added into it, and the same formula which is the weight we have to calculate it, because weight is the only thing which is pulling that object. So the formula is rho into v, and here we know the formula for the area. So which is nothing but 1 by 3 a into h. So that much of weight is going to add on this top, half of the top section through the center of gravity. So the formula will turn out to be change in length is equal to rho L square divided by 6e. And if you want to remember this formula, only thing is change if it is prismatic divided by 2, and if it is the conical cross section, then divided by 6. The two value you have to remember. Entire thing you will remember at the time if you are solving the example. And similarly, there is an example they used to ask, like at the top it has ceiling. After that, one D1 D1 cross section is attached to it, and it has a bigger diameter compared to the another cross section which is going to add into it. So what will happen when you remove, if you hang that kind of cross section, that at the top it has a bigger diameter and at the bottom it has small diameter. So the weight of that small diameter is going to act on the bigger diameter. So the length of the bigger diameter is going to be changed. So in that condition, the total change in length will become the change in length of first bar plus change in length of the second bar plus change in length of the second bar due to the first bar weight. So it's nothing but the change in length of first. We can calculate with respect to same formula, that PL square by twice A, twice E, rho E square by twice E. Now the L2 formula is also similar, but due to the another weight which is going to be add, uh, due to the first cross section get deformed due to its self weight. Second cross section also get deformed due to its self weight. But due to the weight of the entire weight of the second cross section, the change in length in the first cross section. So that formula will become, in that formula, only thing is W1 L divided by A2 E. And another example in which they used to change only when we have taken the small diameter at the bottom, but if you take the small diameter at the top, in this condition there will be no change in the dimension of the bigger cross section, because you attach small cross section at the top. So in that condition, the only deformation which is taking place in between that small cross section. So this is, you have to remember this kind of example they used to ask in the gate. And third, the cross section is conical bearing, or it's called a truncated cone. And truncated cone, which is mostly not asked because it has, you see, it has very big complicated formula it has, and it is very difficult to remember, and you cannot find it. Only I have taken to for a understanding. If you ask, there will be no asking. Only I have refer the book, from that I have taken this formula. And here ax is nothing but the area from the bottom cross section toward the uh, uh, x in the L direction. So it can be calculated with respect to a multiplication of e raised to the gamma x divided by uh, rho. So AX nothing but the area at that X length. A is the area at the bottom where the it is denoted by D1, and A is the exponential raised to the gamma. Gamma is specific weight, and X is the length which is from the bottom cross section, and rho is the stress which can be calculated by force divided by area. So this is how you can find out, but this is not useful compared to the previous two cross section. On the basis of that two cross section, most of time they used to ask question, and they only change the cross section, different cross section. So with respect to that, you have to understood which cross section is going to deform the other cross section. So on the basis of that, they used to make a complication numerical. So now we move to the factor of safety, and basically we know that the ductile material has a factor of safety 1.5 to 3, and the brittle material, it has a factor of safety 3 to 10. And most of time, if you see the plane where you aerospace industry, they use their uh, factor of safety, which is nearest to one, and almost most of time they used to keep below as possible. So why they were taking the risk at such a critical matter? Because most of the material which is used for the aeroplane is completely ductile material. And if you go for the higher safety over there, the mass is getting added into that object, and due to that it became bulkier, and if became bulkier, then the capacity of engine and the weight it has to lift that plane is going to be increased. So that's why their focus is to reduce the waste as much as possible. So they have, just because of they has to maintain that factor of safety low as possible, which is around 1. And here, for the common ductile material, you can see the difference between these two factor of safety. And why is that? Because as you know that ductile material is giving indication before it goes to the failure mode, because you know that it will go from the yield cross section, then upper yield point, lower yield point, then its ultimate point, and after that it going to break. But what will happen in the brittle material? Brittle material is suddenly it will absorb the lot of energy till its ultimate point. It don't have the elastic property. It has a little bit elastic property, but when it reach to the doesn't have the yield point, upper yield point and lower yield point. That is nothing but it directly goes to the ultimate point, and the ultimate point, it suddenly see a break. It does not show any fracture point. So the ultimate point, in the case of brittle material itself, is the ultimate point. So the chances of getting failure is very drastic and unpredictable. That's why you have to uh, in this condition you cannot take a risk while applying a low factor of safety. That's why you go for the higher factor of safety in this condition. And the factor of safety they used to, in that condition we have to calculate with respect to that. If it is given that factor of safety is mentioned over there, so you have to calculate the limited force you can apply. That is nothing but if you cross section is there, and the diameter is like 5 mm, it can sustain up to 100 kilonewton of force. And if you apply 200 kilonewton, it get break. So you have to be specific with respect to its capability. So factor of safety is nothing but it from that factor of safety you can calculate the capability of that rod. And uh, and other point you have to be in clear with that ductile material is useful until and unless it will reach to the yield point, that upper yield point. After that, that material is it is not useful at all. But in the brittle material which is shows that it is useful until the ultimate point, because it does not show any behavior in between. So we cannot predict what will happen in between. So just because of that, you have to calculate the ductile material with respect to yield point, and the brittle material at ultimate point. And the permissible stress, which they used to indicate in the different manner. That sometimes they used to call the uh, permeable stress, which can be applied on that object. Sometimes they used to call as working stresses, which is applicable to that object. Sometimes they used to call it as the allowed space on that object. So this is how you have to be careful with this notation. So this is how this section is taking place. Now we move to the another very interesting cross section, because this kind of fundamental which is applicable in each and every material. So what will happen if you put that cross section in the high temperature? So some material has it some most of the material used to expand when it placed into the high heat or high temperature environment. So you take any material in the engineering application which is expand after exposing to the higher temperature. So if it is high temperature, low temperature, it doesn't matter. If it is get exposed to the temperature, it is changed its dimension. So in very critical manner, it's like if you take a aeroplane in that condition, it is very complicated to understand the basic, and then from that basic you can understand that if it is change in its dimension at every point is 1 mm. So every time it would change their dimension each and every point, it will become the large at the end of the entire cross section. So it is not tolerable to be extend that thermal stresses in 1 mm at any particular part. So we are going to depth of that thermal spaces, how it behave, and what are the condition, and what are the significance, and the different cross section, how it behaves, and how much strain is produced, how much stress is produced due to this thermal behavior. We are going to see in the detail in the coming cross section. So we will stop here now for today, and we will continue these thermal spaces in the upcoming session.